Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Fausto Pugliese, President of Cyber Trading University, to discuss how to trade using Nasdaq BookViewer, particularly during earnings season. Fausto, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And earnings in general, it's so interesting to trade, especially after you get the earnings print. Which direction is it going to go? And of course, BookViewer is a good tool to kind of help you determine that.
Yes, it's a great tool, Jill, because you could use it towards the pre-market, you could use it toward the aftermarket, and because usually earnings usually come during, they don't usually make majority of the announcements during the market open, usually the first hour or right when the market closes. So we got some really great examples to talk about.
We have some very heavily traded examples to talk about. I want to kick it off with AMD. We could see on the first chart here that it was trending down with some pretty significant buyers at certain levels. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so basically you could see here that AMD kept trending lower and lower, and it's what we call making lower lows. And once the market opened up, it started trending lower. And the big thing about this one, which I liked, what I wanted to show you, some people, when you look at some of the book viewers, people have to realize that there are orders at every single price level. And when you got to a specific price level, you'll see on the book view, you got three very important columns. You have orders, you got shares, and you got price. When you work your way down, you'll notice a significant buyer right around 273,000 shares, right around that price, around about 107.50. And the thing is, when people are trading, like, do I get out now? Do I hold on to it, Jill? And I'm like, well, you know what? It's all about reading the future. And the future with the book viewer is you could see the orders out there, the algorithms, the high frequency trades. And when you got close to that, right around that 2 o'clock time frame, you could see where the reversal came in.
Yeah, I mean, the bounce was right exactly at 107.50.
Right, and then when it got to that price with that big order, boom, the stock ricocheted at the 107.50 and shot right back to 109. And what happens? A lot of traders get nervous. They don't know if they should get out, hold on to it, maybe average down. But in this case, you could see how the stock, how it did a slingshot, hit that big iceberg order of over 273,000 and shot right back to 109.
All right, moving on, let's talk about Moderna. Clearly that name has been in the news certainly over the past 4 years, and I wonder if it had any sympathy off of what happened with Pfizer this week, where it had to cut back on some numbers.
Well, and usually when those stocks are all in the same industry, they all trade side by side, just like the airlines. Like yesterday, a lot of earnings came out on those. But Moderna, we go way back. We watched the stock take off with COVID-19. It was basically the most popular COVID stock out there. But you don't take things personal, as in like, oh, it's the COVID stock, it's the vaccine stock. This stock, obviously, as a day trader, we don't really care. We just want to watch the orders. That's all that matters. And in this case, here's a really big order on Moderna. You're talking over 200,000 shares. And what's key here is when you look at the orders, Jill, you'll notice you have orders, 100 share orders out there, one order, 5 share, but you got 83 orders out there, roughly trading at that $90.25. Now, once again, just like AMD, people get nervous. The market's going down. Is it still going to trend down? Well, like I said, if you go to the book viewer, why don't you look where the street's at? And when you look at where everyone else is at, you'll see a big buyer out there at $90.25.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that bounce in the chart right over here, too.
Right, and sure enough, that's what's called a double bottom. So what happened here around 10 a.m., it hit that big buyer, shot back up to 92. Hit the buyer at 90.50. He wasn't going anywhere. And eventually people are going to realize, like, well, you know what, this buyer he's really supporting that level. And sometimes what that happens, Jill, is that buyer will be like, you know what, no one's really selling it to me. Maybe I'll just buy from the sellers. And then he'll execute that stock, and that's how that stock went from 90.50 all the way up to 93.50 in the matter of less than an hour. Mm-hmm. And that's how you kind of know where to kind of pick your spots and pick your battles when you're in a position like that.
Right, moving along here, I want to pull up United Airlines. You had mentioned the airlines, they were reporting as well, and UAL had a big cut in guidance with costs going up.
Right, they sure did, and not only that, but everything followed along with it. But just focusing on the UAL, this is another good example about how to trade into the pre-market. So the company came out with pre-market earnings, and obviously it was not that good. They cut it. But in this situation, what I like to focus on is that this is not like some of the other stocks we just looked at where you had the 200,000. Now you have like 24,000. It's still a lot more than what you see on the level on the book viewer and see all those orders out there. But what's key here is there are 2 orders I want you to focus on. There's one buyer, there's 39,000 shares orders out there to buy 24,000 at 37 at 37, and there's another order out there of 55,000 at 38.83, and that's only three orders. Now those 3 orders could be maybe one guy was looking to buy maybe 50,000 and whatever, but What's happening when you look at the chart, what's happening, this is right at the open. It was trending down. You see how it had a little bit of a slingshot. You had that big candlestick, but it kept going lower. Now, what's key here is this. What we focus on is there are big buyers, and first thing we assume is big buyers out there. That's where the support level is. But in this case, the buyer got executed. And somebody says, you know what, you want to buy the 24,000? Sold, you have it. So if someone buys it and took that support level away, what's going to happen? It's going to go lower. And that's how we went from that 37 all the way down to 36.72. So that's another thing that the book viewer could help you out by seeing, are those orders getting executed? Because we look at those buyers and we judge them on support levels, but if someone sells it to them, not a good sign.
All right, I want to talk about Tesla for a moment here. I mean, everybody trades Tesla, and of course,
it's the most popular stock that's been searched. Everyone always looks at Tesla. They love that. So
it had earnings, or has earnings after the close.
Right, had the earnings after the close. Now, everyone's always focused on Tesla because that is like, you know, that's probably the most popular, like I said, the most
Well, their conference calls are the most interesting too. and yesterday's certainly followed suit with that.
Well, that's a great example you brought that up, because if you look at the example I'm showing you on the chart, look what happened at the open. The stock did what's called a slingshot, and I'm going to show you that in the next couple of slides. But usually what happens when the market comes into the open, you'll get a lot of chaos going on, because a lot of program trading, and you'll see it on the book viewer, orders really don't show up as much until about 9:30 when the market opens up. But you'll see the trend of pre-market trading, and it started trending down. So usually as day traders, we don't trade the first 5 minutes, is what you can see here in an example. But once everyone knows where the market is and where they see everybody's at and see where the orders start coming in, you'll start seeing that, and this is before the earnings announcements came out, it started trending down. So we were trading roughly about 254, which you see here. And what happened here is that when you look at the book viewer, okay, now you're starting to see, are these sellers are going to continue? So we're looking for those orders in the future. So if it's trending now, we're going to look for those buyers. And there you had 864 orders out there for 26,000 shares. And that's what we're focusing our attention on. Are those buyers going to hold on to it, or is it going to break it?
Right. So and you had your 26,000 share buyer here too, we could see.
And you got executed. So what ends up happening? Boom, as the time goes on, now we're at 10:30, 11 o'clock, now the stock is making lower lows. Now what's going to happen is that when you look at the book viewer, you'll notice that there are big orders at all different main prices, specifically at 247. Now you have another 719 orders out there for another 26,000. What ended up happening, Jill? That buyer got executed.
Right.
So what ended up happening is some people are like, well, you know, do I hold on to it? Well, you know, you could also short. You know what I mean? I don't know what people look at. So,
and we have done that before on here when we're looking at buy or sell orders. You could use it for any on book viewer, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's down 9% after hours.
So it ended up happening. Tesla started going even lower. Now we're getting around the 1 o'clock, and we're starting to get into 2:30. What is it doing? It's starting making lower lows, and we're not even at the earnings announcement yet. I mean, so people are like, well, is it bad? Whatever it is. Listen, the trend is your friend. You want to buck that trend. Those buyers start showing up. Now you're getting 1,000 orders out there, another 26,000 shares meeting up that 1,000 share order out there. Now you're getting close to the order. Now we're getting to the market where the market's going to close, and then here we have the announcement that comes out. So you could see here, once that announcement came out, you get that slingshot, you know, because people are looking at where the stock's going to go up and go down. Once that buyer, once people start realizing what the earnings announcements are, and people start realizing, is that good news, is that bad? Because sometimes you could see a company have bad earnings, and people are like, well, it wasn't as bad, so because they're always projecting, well, what's the future earnings going to be? But in this case, that didn't happen. So what's great about the book viewer is that not only did you see the orders out there, it kept going lower, and the book viewer trades all the way up till 7, 8 o'clock at night. So, you know, you're looking at it and you could see the trend going lower and lower. And as we keep trading it, you could see it went down to $233. Now, the big thing here I want to point out is what's also very unique about the book viewer is if you look on the bottom, it says total shares. You got 200,000 shares to buy. You got 700,000 to sell. And now, we're talking about 7 o'clock at night. You know where we are right now, Jill? $220 on the stock that's trading. So think about how valuable the book viewer is. You know, you want to see it on the exchange? There you go.
Yeah, interesting. And the whole thing is too, you can speculate all day long. It's you know, from a valuation perspective, it's a good buy, or it's down, you know, 10% after hours perhaps now is a good buy. But I mean, it's showing you right here what the street is trading, what it's thinking.
And like I always tell everyone, you and I are just basically just ourselves, trading ourselves. But there are people out there, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. algorithms. They have these orders out there. Follow the orders, and it'll just give you a better decision on the book viewer than to sit there and just say, well, I like Tesla, I just bought one, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and analyze it. Follow the orders. These people spend a lot of money. They have a lot of shares outstanding, trading it, and they'll just give you give you that sense of direction where to go.
All right. Appreciate the insight as always, Fausto. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.